Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The government's advance estimates project FY24 GDP growth rate at 7.3%. This is well above the cnbc TV 18 poll and the RBI's estimate of 7%. Expect nominal GDP at 296 lakh crore rupees, which is below the budget projection of 301 lakh crore rupees. SEBI reiterates short-selling rules as naked short-selling is banned and that institutional investors are barred from day trading with tightened disclosure rules. Sensex and the Nifty end the first week of 2024 with minor losses. Financials continue to see profit booking. Mid-caps continue to buck the trend. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is set to arrive in the Middle East amidst fears of the Gaza war spilling over to other regions. The visit comes a day after a U.S. strike in Baghdad killed the commander of an Iran-backed militia. Meanwhile, the Islamic State claims responsibility for the twin explosions in Iran, which killed over 100 people. Indian Navy deploys warship INS Chennai to assist a vessel hijacked in the Arabian Sea with 15 Indian crew members. This is the latest among a series of maritime incidents in the region since last month. Canada's Brookfield Asset Management to acquire American Tower Corporation's India assets for $2.5 billion in an all-cash deal. The deal makes Brookfield the largest telecom tower operator in India. Payment platform MobiKwik makes a second attempt to list on Dalal Street, halves the fresh issue size to 700 crores. MobiKwik decides against launching the IPO in November of 2021 despite getting SEBI's approval, had cited weak market sentiment then. RBI responds to federal bank seeking a one-year extension for MD and CEO Shyam Srinivasan, directs the bank to submit another proposal with at least 2 fresh names for consideration. Srinivasan's current term is set to end in September this year, by when he would have completed 14 years at the helm. Also on the show, was N.R. Narayanamurthy surprised by the blowback to his comment on the 70-hour work week? An exclusive conversation coming up. Well, as always, let's start with the stock market action for the first week of the new year. Sensex and the Nifty ending Friday and the week with marginal cuts. It's been a cautious start to the new year for the markets, not just ours, but markets across the world. Financial stocks continue to see some profit booking, but there is no stopping the mid-cap rally. The mid-caps continue to buck the trend. That's the mid-cap 100 for you, up about 80-odd points. The Nifty bank closing in the red in a flat close, but just about in positive territory as far as the Sensex and the Nifty are concerned. But the top story this evening, the National Statistics Office has released advanced GDP estimates for 2024. Growth rate has been projected at 7.3%, and this is higher than the 6.8% predicted by a cnbc TV 18 poll and the Reserve Bank's projection of a 7% growth rate. However, nominal GDP growth has been projected at 296 lakh crore rupees, and that is less than the 301 lakh crore rupees projected in the last union budget. Lata is standing by now with more on the GDP data and what we should make of it. Lata.
Yes, that's right. This is a stunning number. The NSO is estimating our GDP growth for the current year at 7.3%. Last month, the Reserve Bank had upped its own forecast from 6.5 to 7, and everyone on the street was taken aback by such a confident number, because in the beginning of the year, the Reserve Bank said 6.5. It was seen as too confident. The street was estimating only 6% GDP for the current year. At 7.3, we have come a very long way. So clearly, 2023 has been an outstanding year if this number fructifies finally. But coming to the internals, the best performer is the industrial sector. Manufacturing itself is 6.5% higher, but industry as a whole is expected to be 7.9% higher in the current year. Services are growing at 7.7%. That's the next best segment. Within services, I think the disappointment is that trade, hotels, transport and communication is seen growing at only 6.3%. That's a large employment generating sector, and therefore that sector growing at lower than the GDP space is a bit of a worry, which means this is probably not growth that is generating too many jobs. But the weakest sector is agri, seen growing by only 1.8%, which means the large rural sector, the informal economy, is going to not really participate in the astounding growth of the economy. Agri doing only 1.8%. That would be the negative takeaway. The other big worrying takeaway is when you look at GDP from the demand side, Private final consumption expenditure is growing by only 4.4%. Consumption is only 4.4%, but capex is growing by 10.3%. This is very good. It improves the productivity of the economy. But in the long run, you will invest in capital expansion only if there is consumption. So that would be a worry, that poor consumption can stymie capex itself and hence growth. The other worry is growth trickling down? I mean, if you are growing, then it should trickle down and create more jobs and consumption. Is that not happening? We can watch for 1 year, for 2 years, but ultimately consumption has to pick up. Otherwise, we would worry that growth is not trickling down. That would be the worrying part. But worries aside, you will have to admit that this is a stunning number. We are the fastest growing economy, but it is faster than we even thought. So this will go down as an excellent number.
Yes, it most certainly will. Good news coming in there as far as the macros are concerned. Now, moving to the markets, the regulator SEBI has reiterated short selling rules. SEBI has said that naked short selling is banned and that institutional investors are barred from day trading. But the regulator has tightened disclosure rules. Yash is standing by now with the details. Yash, experts that we've been speaking to suggest that it's not a significant departure from the current framework. You've gone over the previous two circulars that SEBI has on short selling. How different is this one?
Well, Shireen, that's how it is. It's largely a reiteration of the framework on short selling in Indian market by market regulator SEBI. What SEBI has first done is it's defined short selling, which is essentially selling of stocks which the shareholder or the owner does not have. And what the circular entails is that SEBI says that all classes of investors like retail as well as institutional investors shall be permitted to short sell. Another point of reiteration is that naked short selling shall not be permitted in the Indian securities market. SEBI also says that all investors are required to mandatorily honor their obligation of delivering the security at the time of the settlement. No institutional investor shall be allowed day trading or essentially which means to square off their positions on the same day or intraday. As far as the enforcement of this is concerned, SEBI has said the stock exchanges shall frame a uniform provision which takes appropriate action against the brokers for failure to deliver securities. It has also said that a scheme of securities lending and borrowing, which is SLB, shall be put in place simultaneously with allowing institutional investors to short sell, which will give necessary impetus as far as short selling is concerned. Now, importantly, SEBI has said that short selling will also be allowed in stocks as far as the F&O segment is concerned. Just in terms of disclosure, the institutional investors shall disclose upfront at the time of placement of order whether the transaction is a short sell or not. And as far as the retail investors are concerned, they would be permitted to make that disclosure in a similar way, but at the end of the trading hours as far as that particular transaction day is concerned. We also spoke to Sandeep Parekh as well as J.N. Gupta, both experts in the field of securities law. Let's just hear out from them what they had to say as far as this circular from SEBI on short selling is concerned.
From what I read, it then simply a massive departure from the existing position, including stuff like naked short selling is not permitted. That is kind of the existing position in any case. I think they said institutional shareholders cannot do day trading. So I think that is a new norm which has come in. And I think they're going to tighten the concept of short selling, I guess, but I don't think they're prohibiting short selling as such.
It is not a departure from the existing provision. Now the question comes that if it is not a departure from the existing position, what is the intent of the circular? So that means we need to read between the lines that what are the exact departures and what are the consequences of it.
Well, that's the consensus, not a significant departure from the current framework. Reactions coming into SEBI's framework on short selling, the circular that was issued just a short while ago. The big international story, flare-up in West Asia. The US has conducted a retaliatory strike in Iraq, killing a pro-Iran military commander. The US has justified the strike as an act of self-defense against the commander, who was claimed to be planning attacks on US personnel. The US strike came after the Islamic State claimed responsibility for the dual explosions in Iran that killed at least 100 people. Meanwhile, Israel's defense minister has prepared a post-war plan for Gaza ahead of US Secretary of State Blinken's visit to the Middle East. This is Blinken's fourth visit to the Middle East in 3 months and comes amidst fears of the war spreading to other regions. The Palestinian death toll has crossed 22,000, even as Israel warns of more attacks on southern Gaza. In Lebanon, thousands of Hamas sympathizers gathered to mourn the death of Hamas deputy commander, who was killed in an Israeli drone strike earlier. Well, strikes by Iran-backed Houthi militants on shipping companies have forced companies to divert from the crucial Red Sea route and take the long way around South Africa's Cape of Good Hope. Now, this has led to a rise in global freight rates. As per a report by Centrum, the freight rate on the Shanghai-New York route is up between 25 to 30% in just a month. Rates on the Shanghai-Rotterdam route have more than doubled. Indian government officials met shipping companies' exporters yesterday to take stock of the impact of the situation in the Red Sea. Sources say the Defence Ministry is providing escort ships to many consignments in the high seas. Meanwhile, the Indian Navy's warship INS Chennai has reached the cargo ship suspected to have been hijacked near the coast of Somalia. Officials say the marine commandos have boarded the Liberia-flagged ship and have begun sanitization operations. The Indian Navy has also said that all of the Indian crew on board are safe. Now, this is the latest among a series of maritime incidents in the region since last month. Remember, early in December, a naval ship responded to a piracy incident. Then, on the 23rd of December, the Navy responded to a drone attack on a vessel headed to Mangalore. Parikshit Luthra is standing by now with the latest. Parikshit, so these attacks continue, but what are your sources telling you? This particular incident, now the Navy in command?
That's right. INS Chennai had been dispatched by the Indian Navy at around 3:15 this afternoon. It has reached this merchant vessel. It's called the Leela Norfolk. This is a Liberian-flagged vehicle. It was hijacked near the Somalian coast. Currently, there are patrols happening around the ship. There are naval helicopters which have warned the pirates, which are believed to be Somalian pirates, to get off the ship, abandon the ship as soon as possible. MQ-9B Predator drones were used in this exercise to carry out surveillance. You had the Boeing P-8I maritime aircraft, which were also used for surveillance and for issuing warning. They had established contact with this merchant vessel. The latest that we know, that Marcos, or the Marine Commando Force, has boarded this ship. They have started sanitization operations. Let's hope we get some good news very soon. This was a ship which was built in 2006. It was en route to Bahrain. This is a bulk carrier. It had at least 15 to 16 Indian crew as part of the entire team on board. So let's hope we get some good news from them soon.
All right, Parikshit, appreciate you joining us. The big corporate story: Canada's top investor Brookfield Asset Management Company is all set to acquire American Tower Corporation's India business for $2.5 billion. Now, after this deal, Brookfield will emerge as the largest telecom tower operator in India. Nisha joins us now with the details. Nisha, big deal going through.
That's right. It's a large transaction and a significant one, as it changes the dynamics of the telecom tower industry in the country. So Brookfield, with its acquisition of ATC India's telecom tower portfolio in a whopping $2.5 billion transaction, pips Indus Towers, the erstwhile industry leader, and becomes the largest telecom tower operator in the country. Talking about the numbers, 252,000 towers with this acquisition now becomes the portfolio for Brookfield Asset Management versus around 200,000 that had been reported by Indus Towers. Now, when we talk about this transaction, it's expected to be completed in the second half of 2024. Also significant to note that it is an InvIT play in all sense, because Data Infrastructure Trust that had been created by Brookfield a few years back is the acquirer entity of this particular portfolio, and they have been beefing up the portfolio. This is the third transaction by Data Infrastructure Trust, and now they've become the largest telecom tower provider in the country. Brookfield stated as part of the rationale for this particular deal that this enhances and expands their portfolio and gives them the ability to give more solutions to their customers as well as their partners. In terms of the deal valuation, in terms of the EV per tower basis, it could be a little cheaper than what Indus Towers is trading at. But Brookfield Asset Management now holds the largest telecom tower assets in the country.
Nisha, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Reserve Bank has responded to Federal Bank seeking a one-year extension for MD and CEO Shyam Srinivasan. The RBI directed the bank to submit another proposal with at least 2 fresh names for consideration. Ritu joins us with more. Ritu, take us through what the RBI has said.
Well, Shyam Srinivasan will have helped Federal Bank for 14 years when his current term ends in September this year. But it remains unclear if he's going to continue beyond that as the MD and CEO of Federal Bank. Now, the bank in October 2023 had written to the RBI seeking a one-year extension for Shyam Srinivasan to continue as the CEO, keeping in mind that permissible limit of 15 years for bank CEOs, which has been set by the regulator. However, Federal Bank has now disclosed to exchanges a letter that it received from RBI on the 4th of January, asking the bank to submit a fresh proposal containing a panel of at least 2 fresh names in order of preference for appointment as the MD and CEO of the bank, keeping in mind the longer-term requirements of Federal Bank. Now, Federal Bank has said its board of directors has taken the letter on record and is going to proceed accordingly. Remember, Shyam Srinivasan took over as CEO in 2010, and we've been given to understand that RBI felt it necessary to have succession planning in place for the bank, because even if they were to grant an extension to Shyam Srinivasan, he would only be able to serve only 1 additional year, given that 15-year cap. So for the sake of stability of the top management and the bank, RBI has now asked them to propose fresh candidates. Now, who will those candidates be? We'll have to see, but Shalini Warrior and Harsh Duggar, who are currently the EDs of the bank, are seen as potential successors who could be considered by the board as internal candidates when they prepare that list to be sent to the RBI.
All right, Ritu, many thanks for joining us. And a happy birthday to you from all of us here. It is her birthday today. She's still working. Now, fintech platform MobiKwik has refiled its draft IPO papers with market regulator SEBI. The company has slashed its issue size down to 700 crore rupees. Remember, the company had filed its draft papers for the first time in 2021. It then targeted a fresh issue of 1,500 crores. However, it's decided to delay its plans due to weak market sentiment. So refiling now with a much smaller issue size. That's MobiKwik. Power stocks lit up in trade today after analysts cheered the CERC's new draft policy that incentivizes higher power output for both thermal and new renewable projects. According to the draft policy, the return on equity for new storage-based hydro projects has been increased by 50 basis points. Similarly, incentives for thermal power plants operating at over 85% capacity during peak times have also been hiked. The norms will be effective from the 1st of April 2024. The Income Tax Department has claimed a 4,000 crore rupee tax demand from Shree Cement. Sources tell us this comes after a survey conducted by the department highlighted that the company wrongfully claimed 8,500 crore rupees between April of 2014 to March of 2023. Now, in a clarification, Shree Cement told CNBC TV 18 the allegations levelled against the company are speculative and devoid of merit. Shares were down by nearly 5% today. Moving on now, National Thermal Power Corporation has received demand orders from GST authorities in 7 states worth over 100 crores. The demand orders have been issued from states including Delhi, Maharashtra, UP, among others. NTPC has said it will appeal before the appellate authority against the same. While the union budget is less than a month away, what's your wish list for the finance minister? Presenting the CNBC TV 18 budget ballot coming to a hotspot near you. We will be placing these ballot boxes at popular public spots. We'll also be asking newsmakers who drop into our studios for their budget wish list. So come join us. Tell us what your top budget wish is for the finance minister. Drop your wish list at a ballot box near you. We will compile them and present it to the finance minister before she presents the union budget. And you can catch all of CNBC TV 18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. The Bombay High Court has deferred its judgment on pleas challenging the amended IT rules to January the 15th. The centre informed the court it will put the implementation of the rules on hold till the judgment is pronounced. The petitions, which include one filed by stand-up comedian Kunal Kamra, challenge the constitutional validity of the new rules and the powers of the fact-check unit to mark content as fake or misleading. Infosys co-founder Narayana Murthy has responded to the backlash over his advice of a 70-hour work week. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18, Murthy said he's never given advice that he has not followed himself, also recounting the fact that he used to leave for work at 6 in the morning and return home after 9 p.m. 6 days a week. in his quest to build emphasis.
I rationalized it this way. If anybody that has performed much better than me in their own field, not necessarily in my field, I would respect, I would call them, and I would say, where do you think I was wrong in saying this? But I didn't find. A lot of my Western friends, a lot of NRIs, a lot of good people in India called me, and without exception, they were all very happy. They all said, whether it's 70, 60, that's not the issue. The issue is that we have to work hard in this country because the poor farmer works very hard. You know, the poor factory worker works very hard. So therefore, those of us who received education at a huge discount thanks to the subsidy from the government for all these educations too. In my case, I got scholarship right from my pre-university, national scholarship. So I said, we owe it to the less fortunate citizens of India to work extremely hard. So therefore, whenever somebody who has performed better than me comments on it, I would take it very seriously, but not otherwise, no.
I come from a doctor's family. My father used to work more than 70 hours a week. My sister is a doctor. She also works more than 70 hours. Murthy has worked 90 hours a week.
No, here I used to go 6.5 days. Even in Electronic City, I used to work 6.5 days. And every day I would leave home at 6 a.m. in the morning. I would be in the office at 6:20. And I would leave by about 8:15, 8:30. Then only Mohan would leave. And then I would be home by about 9:15, 9:30. Children would be ready. We would take them to McFast or one of those pizza joints or something. Those days, there were no Pizza Hut. And we would have a wonderful time up to 11, 11:30. So, and I used to do it for 6 days a week. It's about 6.5 days, 13 to 14 hours a day, 6.5 days a week. That was. And I've done it. Therefore, one thing I have followed, and that whatever advice I have given to others, I think by and large I have followed it. I have not given advice to people without having done it myself.
And you can catch the full conversation with Sudha Murthy and Narayan Murthy at 7 p.m. on Monday, the 8th of January, right here on CNBC TV 18. The US government has claimed that Russia has started using ballistic missiles supplied by North Korea to attack Ukraine. In a statement, the White House has said that out of the weapons that were provided, at least one was fired into Ukraine on the 30th of December. The White House has also alleged that Russia is in talks with Iran to purchase close-range missiles. However, the deal has not been completed yet. The US government, along with its allies, plans to raise the matter with the United Nations Security Council. Tensions rising in the Korean Peninsula in what could be seen as a provocative move. North Korea fired at least 200 artillery shells across the South Korean seacoast. This is part of the sea that's been a flashpoint for long between the two. The firing did not hurt any military personnel or civilians, but has prompted South Korea to respond with its own shooting exercise. Residents living near the disputed zone have been asked to evacuate ahead of the same. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour, closing out week 1 of 2024, where plenty has happened. From all of us here for now, thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues on CNBC TV 18.